So what did the Gnostics believe? This is the 7th in a series on Gnosticism for today. What did the Gnostics believe? It's hard to say because so many of them prized knowing or gnosis over belief. Belief is a very modern way of looking at things. It kind of goes with being literal-minded, which is also a cultural characteristic these days. We see things through the lens of belief and absolute belief. The Gnostics may not have seen it that way. So imagine going through the Greek myths and seeing all these powerful feminine characters. We see wise Athena, who even knocked Ares on his ass at one point, the war god. We see Persephone, who basically took over the underworld. Artemis, Hecate, powerful feminine figures. And it's as though we looked at all that and said, wow, the ancient Greeks must have really had an appreciation for women's power. Anything but, right? What we have to understand about myths is that, like dream symbols, they're compensatory for the shortcomings of the time. So just as with individuals, dreams bring back what we don't see during the day, for societies, myths tend to bring back what we're overlooking. And the Gnostic myths are no different. So remember, this is happening in the Hellenistic time period when, as Christianity builds up, and also the influence of the Roman Empire, all kinds of individual rights are being discounted, women's voices are increasingly being discounted. It's as though the Gnostic myths come along and say, against Ignatius of Antioch, against Justin Martyr, and against the whole trend of early Christianity that says only we know the truth, the rest of you are heretics. It's as though Gnosticism responds with all these different voices and says, well, what about this point of view? What about this interpretation? So it's we who are belief obsessed and literal minded, and we're looking through that lens at Gnostic stories. So it's pretty hard to tell what they actually did believe. I think probably they did, some of the more literal minded Gnostics did take their stories literally. But some of the stories seem more like wisdom stories. They seem to make, as Carl Jung noticed, psychological points that were profound and important. So I have here a small list of some of the scholars who have said in writing, in speaking, that perhaps it's not literal, not all of it. So scholars like an early scholar, G.S.R. Mead, who translated the Pistis Sophia, Jill Kispel, I mentioned Jung, Marvin Meyer, Elaine Pagels, Hans Jonas, Bentley Layton, April DeConnick, David Brackey, Karen King. They're all open to the idea that there's something else going on besides literal belief in these Gnostic texts. Or to say it in the language of the Gospel of Philip, truth does not come into the world naked, but clothed in symbols and images. It's a basic Gnostic idea. Copies upon copies, reflecting some invisible reality. So we need to be careful when we say the Gnostics believe this or that. Probably the biggest clues come from their homilies, their written sermons, but for all we know, they even held those as wisdom tales. So it's really impossible to say at this point, but what we can say is that their stories are excellent examples of myth-making. That wonderful old word, mythopoesis. I'll say more about that in a later video, but the Gnostics were making liberatory, counter-narrative myths that still speak to our time.